Just last hour, the Alberta government tabled its latest budget. It commits to getting the province back to balance by the end of Jason Kenney's mandate in 2023. That means hundreds of public sector job cuts, no new money for education, and new or higher fees and taxes on things like vaping, camping, and Airbnb rentals. The province expects its economy to bounce back and surpass pre-recession levels this year, but their forecast is based on an average barrel of oil priced at $58, well above where it is today. So is that too optimistic? Travis Taves is Alberta's finance minister. He joins us now from the legislature in Edmonton. Hi, Minister. Thanks for joining us.
Hi there.
Minister, are your assumptions too optimistic? Minister, can you hear me okay?
Okay, I hear you there.
Okay, I'm just asking, Minister, about the assumptions, the revenue assumptions built into your budget. Are they too optimistic?
Well, we believe that they're cautious, actually, but credible. Obviously, right now, with the global economy reacting to the potential effects by the coronavirus, it's the volatility out there is very hard to predict. But again, we're taking a long-term view here. We're really putting forward a 3-year fiscal plan. We believe that the revenue projections are based on sound, credible economic assumptions. And while, again, we can never predict with certainty an outcome given the volatility that we see, such as today, we believe that we're putting forward a budget based on sound, defensible, yet cautious revenue projections.
I know, Minister, that there's always some volatility, but right now that volatility is at a heightened level, given everything that's going on with the markets and the anticipation where coronavirus is concerned. And that actually has had a direct impact on the price of oil, something that is key to your revenue forecasts. For example, this budget forecasts the price of oil at $58 a barrel. It hasn't gone higher than $53 over the past month. It's sitting right now at $47 while we prepare for the possibility of a pandemic and those prices to plunge even further. Once again, is this just normal volatility, or are you being far too optimistic?
Well, had we based our revenue projections on West Texas Intermediate prices in early January, they were north of $60. So listen, obviously we don't know what the longer term effects of the coronavirus will be on the global economy and on commodity prices. Again, we're taking what we believe over a 3-year time period is to be a very cautious but credible approach. We expect that commodity prices will probably err on both sides of our projections over the next few years. We know the sensitivity to commodity prices on global shocks and optimism around the globe. Right now, we're experiencing a global shock, but again, we believe that our long-term revenue projections are credible. And here's the other piece: when we see this kind of volatility, that's really out of our control. It really reinforces the fact that we have to manage what we can manage as a province, and that's why we're really focused on ensuring that we have the most competitive business environment possible, and that we're focused on spending restraint, that in fact we're delivering very cost effectively to Albertans.
I want to ask you, Minister, about that business environment, because when we've been speaking to representatives from your government over the past few weeks on this show, they have often made the point that, and they're blaming the federal government to be fair, but they have made the point that the environment for investment in Alberta has been very negatively affected as of late, that it simply isn't there. Yet I look at the assumptions and the numbers in your budget where you see revenue growing after holding steady at 2019, 2020 levels, growing by about 7.8% over each of the next 2 years, eventually climbing to $58 billion by 2022-23, driven in part by a 38% increase in energy royalties. Why are you anticipating that increase when other representatives of your government come on this show saying investment has dried right up?
Well, listen, firstly, our revenue projections for the upcoming fiscal year, the year beginning April 1st, actually show lower revenue and much lower royalty revenue for the upcoming year. And in fact, Resource revenues, royalties from resource revenues don't exceed the current year that we're in until the last year in our forecast. So again, we have the expectation of over 170,000 barrels per day of additional energy production in Alberta in the upcoming year. We're ramping up crude by rail exports and egress. We do have additional pipeline optimization that is occurring that will, by the end of 2021, mean an additional at least 300,000 barrels a day, and that doesn't include Enbridge Line 3 or TMX in the future. So again, I believe our revenue projections are cautious but credible. These are by no means boom time projections.
Let me ask you about some of the spending or lack thereof decisions. The opposition has criticized your government for choosing to cut taxes for corporations, to cut corporate income tax levels, but while at the same time only just increasing health spending or maintaining education spending, which they say amounts to a cut because of population growth. Are you attempting to exercise fiscal restraint on the backs of everyday Albertans?
Absolutely not. What we're doing is we're over time we will bring our spending in line with that of other large provinces. The McKinnon panel report, which we commissioned prior to Budget 2019, drew the conclusion that as a province, Alberta spends $10.4 billion more per capita per year than the average of Ontario, British Columbia, and Quebec. And so they recommended that over time we bring our spending in line with the other large provinces. And our Budget 2020 provides a fiscal path to accomplish that. Moreover, what we're also seeing in terms of energy investment, we've seen a real increase in drilling activity for this current year. And that's partly driven by, in fact, our job creation tax cut. CNRL noted that because of a reduction in corporate taxes in Alberta, they were expanding investment in this province. We're hearing other companies plan to spend more money in the province, planning to invest additional capital. CAP estimates that they will be in the Canadian energy industry, of which Alberta receives 3/4 of this investment. They'll be increasing investment in energy by $2 billion in the upcoming year. So again, we're confident that our work to broadly improve the competitiveness of our business environment is working. A key part of that is reducing our corporate tax rate to be very competitive. And we're maintaining spending in health and education. And more importantly, we're looking to deliver much more cost effectively and efficiently for Albertans.
That corporate income tax, the promise to do so was paired with the promise to create 55,000 new jobs. How many jobs have been created so far?
Well, listen, right now unemployment is still stubbornly high at 7.3%. And so we're looking for 2020. We really believe that 2020 will likely be a turnaround year where we will see an inflow of investment again into Alberta, and with it, the creation of jobs. Let's face it, listen, the previous government, they raised corporate taxes at a time when the industry was under duress, was under pressure. And as a result of that, the government collected actually less corporate tax revenue over the next 3 years, about $5.8 billion less than they had been collecting prior to that. So we're taking the opposite approach because we want to actually attract investment back into the province, create long-term jobs. We know government can't do that. The private sector actually needs to do that. And our corporate tax reduction is one part of broadly improving our business environment. And based on what we're seeing and hearing out there, we believe it's working.
With respect, though, my question was specifically how many jobs have been created, and you couldn't provide me with a number. The promise under which, the sort of justification for these corporate income tax cuts was that it would be a job creator. I take your point that you think the signs are there for there to be reason for optimism. But I think a lot of people who are worried, a lot of Albertans who are worried about the potential impact, for example, of just maintaining education funding on their kids or what healthcare will look like in your province are asking themselves if these corporate income tax, the decisions that you've made, the cuts that you've made are worth it. And you can't, to be fair, tell me that those jobs have been created yet.
Well, you know what, it doesn't surprise us that it's taking some time to reverse the investment flows. So we actually have investment flowing back into this province at higher rates again. We've never suggested that it would be instantaneous. Again, we're committed to the intermediate and long-term game of, again, broadly improving our business environment, attracting investment, creating jobs. We're confident that, in fact, we will achieve that outcome. And based on the signals and signs that we're seeing, we're confident that that will be happening. We believe 2020 will be a turnaround year. But with respect to spending on health and education, again, not only are we maintaining spending in those two ministries, but in fact, we're looking to deliver much more efficiently and effectively. In healthcare, the McKinnon panel pointed out that Alberta spends $3.6 billion more per year per capita than the average of BC, Ontario, and Quebec. And we're not receiving better results. We absolutely have to deliver better.
Minister,
it's not for a lack of funding.
Yeah, no, with respect, I take your point on the per capita funding. That panel that you talk about only looked at the spending side of things, first of all. And the argument being put forth by groups representing, let's say, teachers or parents or the opposition is that by holding the line on spending, yes, you're not cutting, but by holding the line, when you pair that with population growth, it amounts to a cut.
Well, but it doesn't necessarily result in a reduction in service delivery. In fact, I will contend that we will be able to improve the delivery of service over the next few years as we transform the way services are delivered. Ultimately, we have very ambitious plans in the delivery of healthcare in this province. I believe that with maintaining health budgets, even with growing population levels, we will be able to actually improve healthcare delivery. We just had an Alberta Health Services report completed by Ernst & Young. They provided a number of recommendations which will find savings and efficiencies totaling up to $1.9 billion. All of those funds will be reinvested back into the healthcare system, into front lines. We need to deliver more efficiently and effectively in this province. I believe we can get that done.
Okay, I have to leave it there. Minister Taves, thanks very much for making time for us this evening. Appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you. My pleasure.
Alberta Finance Minister Travis Taves from the Legislature in Edmonton. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.